Okay, the first one. Right, determine the coordinates of M, the midpoint of AB. So you had the coordinates of A, you had the coordinates of B. So we're calculating the midpoint. You add the x's, divide by 2. You add the y's, divide by 2. And then you get an answer of 4 and 13 over 2. Question 3.2. Determine the gradient of line MN. So if you look at this diagram, you will see that you cannot calculate the gradient of MN because you only have the coordinates of M. You do not have the coordinates of N. You also don't have the inclination angle that would make it possible for you to calculate the gradient. So the last two options would be to steal it, either whether it be parallel or perpendicular lines. So there are no perpendicular lines, but there are a set of parallel lines. So I steal it from BC. So what I did is I calculated, or I first said that the gradient of BC is equal to the gradient of MN because the lines are parallel. Then I calculate the gradient of BC, and I know that the gradient of MN will also be 2. Those of you that came late, once again, open your book so I can check your homework. Hence or otherwise determine the equation of line MN in the form y equal to mx plus c. Hence means using the answer that you just got. Okay, so they're saying use the answer or in any other way determine the line of MN. So you've got the gradient of M, or of MN, it's 2, we just calculated it. Then all you need is another coordinate, which is an x and a y value. I substitute them into the equation and then I get a value of c that is negative 3 over 2. So the equation, you must write the equation, is y equal to 2x minus 3 over 2. I did question 3.4 and 3.5 together. Okay, so 3.4 was also that you had to calculate the coordinates of n, but I told you guys that it's using the midpoint theorem that you guys say you didn't use in grade 10. So I told you that it's a midpoint, you have to calculate it. So n is the midpoint of AC. You substitute and then you get the answer 1.5 as the coordinate of n. Do you understand that? Next, if ABCD in that order is a parallelogram, determine the coordinates of D. So in that order, ABCD, the D coordinate is somewhere here. I told you guys when you going to work with a parallelogram in grade 11, the most important property that you must know is that the diagonals bisect each other, which means that the midpoints of the two diagonals will be at exactly the same point. So you already calculated the midpoint of AC. So the diagonal, the other diagonal, they are telling you that it is a parallelogram. So this diagonal is also being bisected. So I know I'm going to count it down. Now, if you use it with the counting method, you know that n is 1.5. You would say, what happened to 2 to become 1? It's -1, and then you just do it again. 1 minus 1, therefore D will be 0. Then what happened to 15 to become a half is minus 14.5, and then you subtract 14.5 again, then you get -14. That's the counting method. If you used the algebraic method, you would say 2 plus x divided by 2 is 1, and 15 plus y divided by 2 is a half, and in both cases you would get the same answer, 0 and -14. Do you all understand this? Okay, moving on to question 4. They told you, given that MP and N are collinear points, calculate the value of K. That means when you look at MP and N, they're all on the straight line. You can calculate the gradient of NP, have the answer, and then use the answer to calculate K there. So I did it. I calculated the gradient. It's 2/3. And then I used the answer in the gradient with P and M. And then I found K to be -3. Do you see that the methods or the tricks, they're repeating themselves? You're always calculating something else and then using the answer to calculate what you want to calculate. But it's the same distance, midpoint, and gradient formula. You're just stealing from other lines. Determine the size of theta, the obtuse angle between the two lines. And it counted 4 marks. So what we're going to do is we have this gradient. We just calculated it. So we will say shift tan of 2 over 3, then we've got alpha. That line, they gave me the equation, it's minus a half. So I'm just going to say shift tan of a half, and then know that the answer I'm going to subtract from 180 because of the negative. So that's what I did there. For the tan of alpha, I said it's the gradient of mn. Shift tan 2 over 3, I get 33,69. For the tan of beta, it's equal to the gradient of AR. It was given as a half. I just press shift tan a half. Then I take the answer and subtract it from 180 because of the negative there. And then once I have those two angles, I know that theta is going to be, these two added will be equal to beta because of the exterior angle of a triangle. So I find theta to be 119,74 because of the exterior angle of a triangle. Then you had to find the length of MR. Okay, so the length of MR, we had a similar question a few questions back. We know that this M, the X value that we just calculated, it was -3, is needed, and R's X value is needed. And then I can know what the distance is between M, R. So I've got this one as -3. I want to calculate what that X value is. But I've got the equation of this straight line. It's y equal to -1/2 x plus 4. Now at this point, because it's a point of intersection, I know that y is going to be 0. Do you understand what I'm doing here? Then the 4 is going to go over, it's -4, and then I'm going to divide with -1/2. And then I get x to be 8. So it's going to be from -3 up to 8, and therefore MR is 11. Okay, if you look at 4.4, they made a mistake there. Did I talk to you about it or not? Okay, that N, that point of N, they actually wanted it to be there, to be 3 and 4. Now, if this was the case, do you agree, then it would be easy to calculate the area, because it's a half times base, which I just calculated as 11, times perpendicular height. What will the perpendicular height be? If that is n, it will be 4. So it will just be a half times 11 times 4. But if they didn't give you that, you had to let the two equations be equal to each other, find the point of intersection, and only then could you find the y value. So it would be worth a lot more than just 3 marks. So you can just write down the correct one there. It's a half times base times perpendicular height, and it was a half times the base is 11 times the perpendicular height is 4, and then it's 22 units squared. Okay, you are going to do November 2015 for Tuesday. So let's go through it quickly. Let's highlight what we have there. Clues and hints that I just want to give you. The first thing I want you to see and notice is that this line is parallel to this line. Do you know what that means? Okay. The second thing I want you to see is just to have a look here at alpha. Do you see alpha here? Okay, now normally you guys struggle finding this alpha. But I just want to show you that it is a complementary angle, a 90-degree angle, and then the inclination angle. Do you remember when we spoke about inclination angle? I told you it's the angle from any horizontal line. Doesn't have to be the x-axis. We normally use the x-axis, but it doesn't have to be the x-axis. So if you were to calculate the inclination angle there, then you can find alpha just by adding 90 degrees to it. Does it make sense? Okay, so then you have alpha, gradient of AC, straightforward. Then you want the equation of DE, but you see you've only got one coordinate, ne? If you can't calculate, you steal. Okay. Alpha, that we just spoke about. And now the 3.4 I want to show you quickly. They're saying B is a point in the first quadrant such that A, B somewhere there, D, E, in that order, forms a rectangle. Do you know what a rectangle is? Okay. Look at your quadrilateral papers. And now in a test or an exam, you mustn't look at the papers, you must have that information in your head. So let's look at what a rectangle means. It means it's got all four angles 90 degrees. One pair of opposite sides parallel and one pair of opposite angles 90 degrees. Look at number 3. You remember that grade 11 is a lot about the diagonals. We know the properties of lines and angles. We know it. But in grade 11, we get to know and work with the diagonals. The diagonals bisect each other like the parallelogram, because remember it is a parallelogram. But the thing that makes it special, they are equal to each other. So if you look at your diagram here, the diagonal AD will be exactly the same length as BE. They don't just have the same midpoint, they also have the same length. Does that make sense? Okay, that's all I'm going to say. They are asking you to calculate the midpoint M, and then they're asking you for the length of the diagonal. But you now know the properties of the diagonal of a rectangle. Okay. Then question 4. In the diagram, the straight line SP is drawn having S and P as its X and Y intercepts respectively. The equation SP is X plus AY minus A equal to 0. A is greater than 0. It is also given that OS is equal to 3OP. The straight line RT is drawn with R and SP and on SP and RT is perpendicular to PS. RT cuts the y-axis in T. Calculate the coordinates of P. Okay. This point P, I have one of the coordinates. Do you agree with me? Which one? X is 0. And at S, I also have one of the coordinates. Which one do I have? Y is 0 and X I don't have. Now just quickly look here. They are saying that OS is equal to 3 times OP. Now you see OP here is Y, ne? And so this one will be 3Y. And the equation of SP they've given you, it's X plus AY minus A equal to 0. Except for that equation having A's in them. What's wrong with it as well? It's not in standard form. So you get it in standard form. AY equal to minus X plus A. And then I divide everything with A. I haven't done anything new, ne? I'm doing what we would have done if there were numbers. So it's minus X over A plus 1. A over A. What variable is that except for being A? What is C? The what? C is Y what? You are close? Y-intercept. C is the Y-intercept. Do you know what it means, what 1 is then? Where is 1? This is the equation of SP. Where is 1? At P. So you've got the value of Y, and you've also got the value of X, because X, this distance is 3 times Y. So what is X? 3. This is a very difficult question, a higher level question. But do you see that I did not use any difficult mathematical method to find it? All I did was the basics. What's the basics? The equation is not in standard form. I get it into standard form. And it worked itself out to give me the C value of 1. And that's what I mean when I tell you guys that everything in mathematics stays the same. You do what you would have done if there were numbers, but it's difficult because there are no numbers, so you don't think you can do it. But you just need to do what you can do, what you would have done. Do you all understand that? Okay, I'm going to leave this on for you. That was the most difficult part. The rest is fine. Go. I don't know why you are talking.
Yesterday in the video we didn't mention the midpoint theorem. Can you quickly ask?
Okay, so you were supposed to do a theorem in grade 10 that says if these two lines are equal and those two lines are parallel, then these two will also be equal to each other, and this one will be half the length of that one. But we don't really use it in grade 11. You see, this is a very old question paper. Okay, so we don't use the midpoint theorem in grade 11. So Ma'am van Heerden would do that with you again in grade 12. But it's basically just if these two are, sometimes they give you these two equal and these two equal. Then you can know that these two are parallel. So if they give you these two equal and these two parallel, then these two must be equal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.